Welcome to At Issue. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to be talking about budgetary limitations in two cities in McLean County. And just saying McLean County, you probably know that will be the cities of Bloomington and the town of Normal. And we have the mayors of those two communities to discuss budget and a lot more in the next half hour. Chris Koos is here. Chris is the mayor of the town of Normal. Thank you as always for being with us.
Always good to be here.
And Terry Renner is the mayor of the city of Bloomington. Thank you as well for being with us.
Thank you.
And let's talk about budget. Let's talk about the city that has the structural deficit. I know that you guys like to go at each other about that. We'll explain that in a minute. But starting off, you faced about a $7.4 million shortfall, give or take. Where are you in terms of how you're solving that problem?
Well, we did have a budget task force that I put together just a couple days into our fiscal year, which was May 1st. So I believe it was May 4th that I announced a budget task force composed of 3 city council members and 6 members of the community that would look at our entire situation, come up with tangible recommendations for cuts or service reductions or economies of scale, as well as possible fee or revenue increases. And they finished their work as of the middle of September, and we've acted on part of that. We've acted on some of the revenue side, and partly because that was, we were going to designate a quarter penny for the county's mental health as part of this kind of 1 penny sales tax. And so that kind of governed our process. So we've acted on part of it. The council has begun to weigh in and evaluate the other cuts and reorganizations that have been proposed.
Let's talk a little bit about some of what those cuts might be. The city has a shortfall in terms of its garbage collection. You have 3 golf courses. You do not have a park district.
That's correct.
So you have to handle 3 golf courses. And there's been discussion about selling those. Where are you going to, are you going to have fee increases? Are you going to be cutting? You've already cut your workforce 10%.
Right. Actually, we've cut our workforce more than 10%. 6 years ago, we had about 750 full-time equivalent employees. Right now, we have about 650. So it doesn't mean we can't find some additional economies of scale, but in terms of workforce reduction, we're a pretty lean staff right now. Now, when it comes to the golf courses, we do have to ask ourselves this question, and we have been, do we really need to be in the golf course business? If so, do we need 3 of them? And Highland has a special role for many because it's a very large green space in the central part of Bloomington, but we could turn that perhaps into an arboretum, some council members have suggested, or maybe a 9-hole golf course that's less costly. So those are all of the things that are on the table. Now, keep in mind, we're way ahead of where we have been in every other budget year since I've been mayor, because we've got lots of items and options on the table. We've got some new revenues. We also have many proposals for service reductions, and we have till April 30th to pass our budget. Now, we're not going to go that long, but we're way ahead of the ballgame. So I'm really confident that we're going to be able to make progress on this.
Let's talk about the 1% sales tax increase. To clarify, that's a penny sales tax increase. It's more than 1% increase. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the two communities want to work in concert. You don't want to raise yours unless Bloomington raises theirs, et cetera. But it is a percentage sales tax. It's not a flat tax. So where does this end? How far can we take this when you keep making up, you've got fees that you want to increase and this. How long can you do this before there is a tax revolt, if I may use the term?
Well, I think there's always a tax revolt every time you talk about doing it and do it, depending on how strong it is. We tend to look at a lot of different sources of revenues. State income tax is a very important number for us. State sales tax flow-throughs and our local sales taxes, and all those are an important part of our overall revenue position. Right now, surprisingly, our state income tax is much stronger than we thought it was going to be. The flow-through from the state. Our sales taxes are a little less than we'd hoped. They're in a growth position. But I think, when we go to a penny increase, it's going to be a long time before anybody's going to stomach another one of those.
And The penny is divided up. You made reference to mental health. One quarter of that will go to mental health for the county.
For the county, that's correct. And that's from both Bloomington and Normal. That part was common. The actual penny in both communities was common because we obviously don't want Bloomington to have a higher or lower sales tax rate than Normal.
What else? Where's the money, the increase going to? Because we're talking about total between the two communities about $16 million. Is that right?
It could be the total. For each quarter penny, we get about 2.4 million in the city of Bloomington. So we're going to be giving or sending about 2.4 million to the county for mental health. There's also a quarter penny reserved or earmarked for street resurfacing in our ordinance. So that money, I'm hoping that the council will support my proposal to float a bond for 10 or 15 years for street resurfacing so we can have something like a $25 million street resurfacing program. We had a $10 million bond 2 years ago that we implemented in 2014 and 2015. But we've had 20 to 25 years of neglect of our streets. So we're not going to be able to do it in 2 or 3 years. So I'm hoping that we'll make some real progress there. The other half penny of the total penny is not earmarked, but it's basically going to go to handle our structural deficit that mainly is police, fire, emergency 911 service, and public works.
And you're, other than the quarter cent for the mental health?
We have focused on two important community imperatives. That's funding Connect Transit at a higher level than we currently do, and putting some dollars to economic development in the community. The community, Bloomington, Normal, McLean County, has gone through a study process and has a plan of action called Bloomington Normal Advantage, BN Advantage. And that is a serious undertaking of economic development activity, trying to recruit new businesses, helping current businesses grow. And that's going to take dollars. It's going to take additional staff and dollars. So we feel that that's an important part of where we spend our money. And then, much like the city of Bloomington, the balance of those dollars will go to various infrastructure projects, parks projects, kind of filtered through our CIP, our capital improvement plan.
And Bloomington will be funding Connect Transit.
I'm going to be asking the council, and I think there is majority support in the council, pretty clear majority support, to go with our partners in Normal to provide some matching funds for Connect Transit so that they can leverage that for a considerable increase in the grant monies that they get from the state and federal level. So we can provide service, Connect Transit service on Saturdays, extend the hours, and we're really going to be much more of a multimodal community. It's not just good for quality of life, but it's also the cities of the future are going to be multimodal, and we're really, have a great transit system, and it's even going to be better.
Let's talk pensions. I know you don't want to, but the cost of pensions is one of the major reasons that you are falling behind in trying to balance your budgets. The increase it can't continue. I mean, when do you reach that breaking point?
Well, I think from the town of Normal's perspective, we've kind of been proactive on that in some of our negotiations with police and fire in terms of pension benefits and post-employment benefits. We're in a two-tier system with our fire department and our police department right now in that system. We are comfortably on target to have our pensions funded 100% by 2030, and it's our finance department spends a considerable amount of time studying and being on top of that issue so we can make that number.
So that you don't fall behind.
Exactly.
You have to be by 2030.
And
still have 15 years.
Yeah, and having said that, we're going to need the state legislature to stop giving enhancements that come without a funding source.
And that's the other part of the question.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. In terms of what Chris has said, we want the state legislature to not add to our pension burden.
Because you actually got some good news. You were looking at a $6 million pension payment per year, going to $12 million in the next 5 years.
That's approximately right. Correct.
Now it's not going to be 12 million. It's going to be more like 10. But still, that's a huge, huge increase. And I know the state plays a role in this.
Well, we've also made some real great progress in the same types of things that my colleague Chris Coos has done, and Normal we've done in terms of our negotiations with unions and trying to prevent pension spiking and other kinds of costs. But we have 2 years ago a really, really bold pension policy. We got an award for this statewide last year in the city of Bloomington for police fire pensions, and we are on track to basically get to 100% funding by 2040. So, and what we also have is a designated earmarked funds in our utility tax to cover police and fire increases. And so for the next few years, we're covered. So we're on track to actually save taxpayers about $70 million in costs over about a 30-year period. So again, but you're absolutely correct. One of the things that is really driving our increased costs are these pensions.
And the state, as you mentioned, is not helping you, and they're not helping you in other arenas. For instance, motor fuel tax is being withheld, lottery money is being withheld. I don't know what the dollars are, but this can't be helpful.
No, the state really needs to get a budget. Fortunately, we're not in construction season, so the motor fuel tax dollars are not important right now, but they will be soon as we go into.
You want them to build up, and what if the state says
Absolutely.
we're not going to pay you for that?
Well, that'll be a different discussion, won't it?
Theoretically, they have to pay you,
Right,
but
right. But you know, the initial impact is on the community social service agencies, much like every metro in the state of Illinois that are facing cutbacks in services. And when those services cut back, a lot of those services cut back, the burden goes on the local municipality, especially in the mental health arena. The first responders, the police and fire, become the first responders for a mental health incident. And the usual result of that is somebody who needs a crisis intervention actually ends up in the county jail. It's not a very good outcome.
Right, absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And nobody wins under those circumstances. And so I would certainly hope that our decision makers in Springfield begin to get their act together and come up with some kind of compromise. You know, when Chris and I go to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, almost every panel people joke, we can't blither on and filibuster like people in our state capitals or in Washington, because when we do that, the problem gets worse and we've got a bigger mess to clean up. At the local level, we have to make decisions and we've got to deliver services. And I wish Springfield would begin to understand that.
let's turn to the question of jobs. Mitsubishi announced basically an unexpected decision, but the two communities in McLean County have put together a task force. Both of you are on that task force. There were two charges. One was to help market the plant. Two was to help those who have been displaced and lost a job. What is the status of marketing that plant? How much can you share?
Well, the company is pretty close-mouthed, as they should be in a negotiation with a potential new buyer. But they are having active discussions with potential buyers, and I would think before Thanksgiving we'll have some word whether or not those were successful or not.
And the other half of that is helping the displaced workers. Is there a program in place to help them?
Actually, Heartland Community College almost immediately stepped up to the plate and began. The president said that we'll certainly have reduced tuition, and we're going to be able to develop a variety of different workforce training programs. Some people actually have already begun to seek jobs with auto manufacturers outside of Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County, and that's unfortunate. But obviously, we're going to have to deal with this. We have a low unemployment rate, still the lowest in the state in Bloomington, Normal. But we obviously have challenges for the future, and growing the local economy and job creation is central.
Low unemployment is one number. Workforce is a different situation.
And that's exactly what we're seeing in Bloomington Normal. We're seeing a very low unemployment number in the state of Illinois, but we're also seeing a declining workforce. And the economic impact of that is pretty significant. And you've got less people in the community spending dollars. Effectively, what's happening is people are leaving the community. Now, there are two things that are driving that here in the recent past. One would be the realignment that State Farm Insurance has gone through and started to activate over the last 18 months or 2 years, and then this Mitsubishi announcement. So it's really imperative for us to see a good outcome for the Mitsubishi situation and try and do things with economic development to help our current businesses grow larger if they want to and to attract new businesses.
Let's turn to downtown Bloomington. I want to talk about a couple of different things. There's lots of things to talk about downtown. No hotel. You look at your partner here, you've got a couple of nice new hotels in Uptown Normal. But you have a couple of proposals, at least early proposals, one from Devon and one from Gable Housing Group. They're both asking for a public-private partnership. What is the likelihood, and I know it's early, there's a lot of details to be worked out, but what's the likelihood of that happening for downtown?
If not these two proposals, I think there's a very strong likelihood that it'll happen in the short term. And we have to understand, downtowns are where the action is in terms of revitalization. If we're trying to grow our local economy, expand our workforce, we're not going to do it by building strip malls like you did in the 60s, 70s, or 80s. So we need to revitalize our downtown. And we have a great model in our neighbor to the north. Just a few years ago, Uptown Normal had vacant buildings, vacant abandoned properties, as well as an EPA Superfund waste site. It was vision and action by our current mayor and previous mayors, laying some of the groundwork, and city council that really made that happen. And it was a public-private partnership. And so we have a different kind of set of problems and challenges in downtown Bloomington. In some ways, it's probably easier in terms of the costs moving forward because we've got some of the physical buildings. We just need to leverage our assets going forward. And one of the things I want to be clear is as much as possible, we're not talking about spending large amounts of taxpayers' dollars. We're talking about incentives given to private developers who, that is in terms of rebating taxes, that we're not getting now. So if we were to rebate hotel motel taxes, we're getting nothing from any of the sites right now. We're getting no sales taxes. We're getting very few property taxes. So as those taxes go up, if we rebate some of the fruits of that investment, that's not harming our current budgetary situation.
I want to talk about U.S. Cellular Coliseum, but you bring up the point of public-private and using public dollars to generate investment in Uptown. How did that work? Do you remember the numbers?
Well, if you take a look at public investment in the Uptown, which included significant infrastructure upgrade, about $14 million worth, we have spent about $80 million of public dollars. And to date, we have seen about $165 million of private development as a result of that partnership.
And not to mention sales taxes, property taxes,
Exactly.
et cetera. Let's turn to U.S. Cellular Coliseum. It's good news, bad news, depending on the year. This year it was bad news, almost $500,000 loss. When they had projected, Central Illinois Management had projected a profitable year. I know there were some reasons behind that, but that has to be made up out of the general fund.
Absolutely. It's another budgetary cost to the city. And that's in addition to the approximately $2 million a year that we pay, in a sense, for the mortgage on the Coliseum. So it's another reason why I feel that we need to have the block that's diagonal from the Coliseum, that entire block, the so-called front and center building block, that is revitalized. Because right now, to say it's an underperforming block is an understatement. But it would link the Coliseum to the heart of downtown and our new Route 66 Visitor Center. And frankly, now that we have a couple of people who are very interested with specific proposals in revitalizing downtown, possibly the hotel and apartments, light retail, that is an infinite increase over 2.5 years ago when I was elected mayor. There was no interest at that time. Frankly, if we hadn't gotten the Route 66 Visitor Center, I don't know that we'd even have the interest that we currently have. So there are a variety of pieces for downtown. If we get more gigs in the Coliseum, it'll reduce the red ink, it'll mean more jobs, and more of a thriving downtown. And that's, of course, been my policy goal for 2.5 years.
The management group there, I think their contract is up next year.
That's absolutely right. And we're in the process of figuring out how we're going to renegotiate that to better terms for the city. It is not one amongst many contracts the city has negotiated in the past that protects the city. We're going to protect the city moving forward.
Back to Uptown. Mm-hmm. You're not happy with just Uptown.
We need more.
You need more. So
I'll take some of this.
I don't know if you call it Uptown South or
We call it Uptown 2.0.
2.0? Okay. There's a library planned. Now, tell me, you used Farr and Associates out of Chicago to try to develop a coordinated plan.
Well, we took a two-pronged approach to this because we still have two significant development sites that have not, because the recession didn't develop. And we had some other caveats in the plan that we wanted to look at. So we wanted to look and see if the assumptions we made in 2000 were still valid today. And we wanted to look at the areas adjacent to Uptown that showed some opportunity. And one is the area south of the railroad tracks where the current city, or the old city hall is. That's a fairly large chunk of ground that the city owns. And we see that as a development opportunity, possibly for a library. Our studies, our housing studies show that there's potential for up to 1,000 bedrooms in terms of housing that the market could address. We're looking at office and some more retail. We're currently under-retailed for the area we're serving.
And you're going to do the same public-private as you did with the original Uptown?
It will function very much like Uptown planning process and funding process did. It will be slightly different because it's a different scope of project.
I want to, in a couple of minutes that we have remaining, I want to talk about regionalism. And the way I want to get there is that when Paul Harmon was mayor, he developed a vision that let's look 25 years from 1990. Mm-hmm. Now we're 25 years later. And that vision really was pretty spot on to what actually happened in the town of Normal. But the one big area that really didn't happen was this regionalization. I'd like both of you to talk about what does regionalization mean and how might there be steps taken, or if any steps need to be taken towards regionalism? Well,
to me, it's a very important concept. And since I've been mayor, there have probably been 100 false starts at efforts to look at a regional central Illinois. Partnerships with Peoria, partnerships with Champaign-Urbana. We think that there's complementing things happening in each community that makes for a much stronger region. And when you're trying to recruit businesses and new enterprises in an area, if you talk about the strength of a region as opposed to the strength of Bloomington or Normal, I think you've got a better story to tell. You've got a better income base, you've got a better employment base, you've got a broader array of businesses, manufacturing, education, technology, it's all in that region. It's very important going forward, and I think initially it's got to come from the planning process. As communities plan, they have to take a more regional approach in their planning.
What's regionalization mean to you?
Well, many of the things, of course, that Chris has said, but in order to really get to that next level, if we're just talking about, let's say, McLean County, there's the broader region, but then in the immediate area of McLean County, Bloomington, Normal, we need to have even better communication between all the major players. I mean, Chris and I talk all the time, but also our city managers and other staff, department heads, as well as people discussing things with the chamber, the Economic Development Council, and we have to develop communication and trust. And frankly, Bloomington has been on the short end of building trust over the last quarter century. And so I'm trying to do everything possible to improve that moving forward. And so those are our challenges. And I'm willing to acknowledge our city is getting our act together. We were better than we were. And I hope that a year, 2, 3 years from now, as we make progress with the future, Bloomington is right on the cutting edge of helping to build that trust.
15 seconds each. Situation with body cameras for the police department.
We're exploring it. We're putting it as a budget item, and we'll likely have body cameras for our police going forward.
Same thing. At this point, we have been discussing it. We are moving forward with it. Ours is more of a pilot experimental process right now, but I think that will definitely happen within the short term.
Timetable, what's short term mean?
Next year.
Next year.
Oh, that soon. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. And with that, as always, I wish we had
Thank
a
you so
full hour
much,
so we can
H.
talk about this.
Exactly.
But thank you to the mayor of Normal.
Thank you.
Chris Coos. Thank you to the mayor of Bloomington, Terry Renner. We
Thank you.
appreciate your insight as always. And thank you for joining us on At Issue. We'll be back next week with a discussion about services for veterans and services for those in active duty, military trauma, and how we're treating it in America today. Next time on At Issue.